questions that you guys might have.
That's all wrong. What did you have? What did you have? Well, it was again, it would say at the top right. So, and she's saying, and it was for the side of that focus.
What I think I'll do is I'll start with some of the frequently asked questions that I'm getting via email. And then if you guys want to ask me some of your own questions too, that's fine. So if you guys will get your financial statements out, looking at Lowe's first. If you look at Lowe's, they don't have any receivables. They don't have any accounts receivable. So if you think about it, what's happening is if you walk into Lowe's, you can't just charge something on a house account. You have to pay them with cash, check, or credit card. Okay? So they don't have any receivables as a company. So what's happening there then is that when you're trying to do the DSO number 4, your numerator is going to be a 0. There's a concept there though. So you have to show me your denominator. You have to show me that you don't get an answer. You have to show me the industry average, and then think there's going to be a concept there of what it would be like for them to only be doing cash sales as opposed to other people having credit sales. So there will be a strength or a weakness there. Staying with Lowe's for a minute then. When you get to the fixed asset turnover, number 6, what happens is they really don't tell you property and equipment gross. They only give you the less accumulated depreciation. So once again, you'll have to show me that for the author's version, you can't do it. You have to recognize that the author has a different way, and you'll just tell me that it's not applicable, that information isn't there for your denominator, and then go ahead and redo the calculation for the RMA version. While you guys write that up, Home Depot people, what happens for you guys is, when you're looking at number 6, you have property and equipment at cost. So you can do the author's version, and then you have net property and equipment. So you can do the RMA version compared to the industry average. So those are a lot of questions that I'm getting over number 4 and number 6. Any other questions about number 4 and number 6 as you guys are going through? Sure.
You said number 6 on Lowe's, you said it's not
For number 6 on Lowe's, what will happen is when you try to do the author's presentation, what you'll have to show is for your denominator, that'd be a weird word. For your denominator, there is no information for that. So still recognize that the author has a different version for it.
So we're talking about sales divided by fixed assets. Okay.
So you'll show me sales, and then for your fixed assets, you'll say NA. Then right under that, say RMA version, sales divided by net fixed assets, you can do that one. So then compare that one to the industry average. Whereas with Home Depot, you'll be able to do the author's version because you do have property and equipment at cost. Lowe's, you could go to the footnotes of the financial statements and get it, but that's not part of the assignment. I'm not making you read the footnotes, so whenever you have to go to the footnotes, I just let you not deal with that. For number 9, debt ratio. Common question. Remember at this point, the author is saying that when you look at the balance sheet, on the right-hand side of the balance sheet, you either have debt or equity. So for that debt ratio, you're picking up total liabilities. And there is a total liabilities number on the balance sheet for each company. Total liabilities. have that calculation for 11, 13, and 14. So you'll have an author's version of that. But then you'll have to do a recalculation with your company numbers to compare against RMA using earnings before tax. If you're Home Depot and you're looking at your consolidated statement of earnings, they call that earnings before provision for income tax. That's EBT. Earnings before provision for income tax is their exact verbiage. If you have Lowe's, they call it pre-tax earnings. So that impacts 11, 13, and 14. Another frequently asked question is around number 10, your times interest earned. With Lowe's, it's a little straightforward because it says interest net. So what's happening there is they're netting their interest income with their interest expense, and so again, I'm not going to make you go to the footnotes to tell the difference, so just use that number. If you look at Home Depot, they actually give you interest expense. You really shouldn't rely on your interest income to cover interest expense, so just use that interest expense number if you're Home Depot. Like I said, Lowe's gives you the net number. I'm not making you use the footnotes, so you can use the net number if you have Lowe's. If you have Home Depot, use where it says interest expense. On number 4, DSO, sorry I'm skipping around, but I'm kind of remembering them as I got the emails. On number 4, DSO, remember I told you that the companies don't have to report credit sales? Generally accepted accounting principles don't make them do that. So for both companies, just use net sales. Net sales when you're looking at the DSO. That's number 4. You can't get credit sales. They don't have to report that. So just use net sales. I had an email regarding number 3, cost of goods sold. I was asked if cost of sales means cost of goods sold. Number 3, yes. Your cost of goods sold as what the author calls it, both companies call it cost of sales. It's the same. Just a little bit different terminology. Keep in mind if you're doing the calculations for the Lowe's company, you need to be using the January 30th, 2015 column. If you're doing the calculations for Home Depot, you use the February 1st, 2015 column. That's all the emails and questions I remember off the top of my head. If you guys have any other ones though, I'll be happy to address them for you. Question?
So for number 10, for Lowe's, you were saying for the interest expense, you said that number?
Yes, where it says interest dash net, you can use that. So the question was on Lowe's, I need to repeat it for the recording and for the back. For Lowe's, the question was for interest expense, do you just use interest net? And the answer is yes. Remember, oh, okay.
On Lowe's, I did not see where it had
like EBIT that's on a line by its own, is that?
Okay. So the question is on Lowe's, where do you have EBIT? Because it's not on a line by itself. What you could do is you could take your pre-tax earnings and add back the interest expense. So for Lowe's, since they don't just tell you income from operations or operating income, like they do on Home Depot, for Home Depot you have it easy. EBIT is operating income. For Lowe's, it's a little trickier because you can simply take your pre-tax earnings and add back that interest. Good question. I don't think anybody had asked me that one yet, so. Anything else? Remember when you're doing stockholder equity? Another common mistake, when you're doing the return on stockholder equity, remember you want total stockholders' equity. One calls it total stockholder equity, Home Depot. One calls it total shareholders' equity. Because the shareholders are leaving retained earnings into the company. They want a return on everything that's in that equity section, because that's what's attributable to them. So pick up the total stockholders' equity.
So for Lowe's, we do use the total shareholders equity.
Yes, for Lowe's, you would use the total shareholders' equity for number 14. Any other questions as a class? I always try to make the day before these assignments are due, time that you guys have to work on them with me available, in case you run into something or if you haven't made it to the library yet, you can go over there, make sure you get everything done then. So I really don't have much prepared for today other than just letting you guys work on that written assignment. Remember, it's due at the beginning of class on Tuesday. And I say at the beginning of class, so like when class starts, I will pick them up. Once I start the lecture on Tuesday, they're late. So you need to start looking at the assignment because it's 5 points per day for being late. The reason I do that is because otherwise people come in and they keep interrupting the class to turn in the written assignment. And that's really hard to have a class then with people coming down and trying to hand me stuff. So once I pick them up, put them away, start the lecture, you're late. So if you have problems with traffic, if you have problems with parking, plan ahead or turn it in early. If you decide to turn it in early, you can take it to Clinton Hall 325. I have a box there. Clinton Hall room 325. If you're here Monday and you just want to get it turned in and not risk being late or something, that's fine. Remember, I don't want the financial statements. You can make a little chart showing me, the ratio. I need to see your numerator and your denominator. I need to see your calculation, the industry average, and then simply comment strength or weakness. I don't need a dissertation. I don't need an explanation. That's all I need. You can give me your RMA sheet. In fact, that'll do you a favor if I have to go back on partial credit grade. If you've made a mistake picking up numbers, it's better if I can see what RMA you were using. If you didn't make a copy of the RMA, you at least have to tell me the NAICS code that you used, but then you're making it that I can't partial credit grade for you with regard to the ratios for the industry average. So if you went off and did something different, I won't know what you were doing. Okay, but don't hand in your financial statements. Don't make a cover sheet. Okay, that's just another 200 pieces of paper. Don't make it pretty. You're not going to get extra points for having the company logo or having color coding or anything like that. So, just simple and basic, and that's really all I'm looking for.
So do we have to show the equation or,
You don't have to tell me the verbiage like current ratio is current assets divided by current liabilities, but you would have to say current ratio and then show me the number you used for current assets and the number you used for current liabilities. And the reason I'm doing that is so that I can, if you make a mistake and you've made the same mistake over and over, I can at least give you some partial credit.
I got one in one column and one in the next column. And then obviously, that's what I was wondering, the equation is not the.
That's fine. That's fine. If you guys have two different columns for it, that's fine. Make sure if you're using Excel though, that if it's a percentage, you convert it to a percentage. Because I'm watching for that too, just like I did on the exam. So if you come out with 0.5 and it's supposed to be 19%, make sure that it's 19%, because that would be the way that it's presented in the industry average as a percentage. So I have to know that you know that that's a percentage. Any other questions, comments? Okay.
For the RMA plus the information that we're taking off of the map, or
Right, so the information that you need will be, if you look at the back of the assignment, you need to use the financial statements that I'm telling you to pull off of the website. I had a gal in the night class that was using something off of Yahoo Finance, and she had really funky numbers. And I wonder if that's what you want to do, you're not going to do it as well. I want you to use the actual annual report. So that's what you'll use to calculate the company's numbers. Then you're right, then the next step is to go get the RMA, the industry averages from the library, and that will be your source then for your industry average column. So those are the two resources.
yeah, doing that and just going in the reserve.
Yes, the RMA is in the reserve section of the library. There's actually two books there. There's the most recent one and then an older one, and I do that because if all of you guys go over there and somebody has it, then you have another option without having to wait. So they usually have two. If it really gets busy, I think the librarian sometimes pulls a third one, so whichever one they give you is fine. Okay, because I think they kind of want. So then you only have to calculate the ratios from the chapter 3 handout that I gave you guys. It's on Blackboard under exam number 1. Remember, you don't have to do number 5 or number 8 though. Any other questions? All really good questions, you guys. I appreciate it. Trust me, if you have a question, somebody else has that same question. Okay, I'll turn off the recorder now and let you guys work. If you want to come down with individual questions, that's fine. I'll stay here. If everybody leaves, I'll be up in my office. So if you come back and you have a question, I'm in 340 Clinton Hall.